I've spent most of my life working as a security officer. It's not the most glamorous job, but it covers the bills. Gas stations, convenience stores, small shops, places where you mostly sit and keep an eye on things. But when I saw the advertisement for a night shift at the local mall, I thought I'd finally found something better. The pay was good, better than anything I'd seen in years. The hours weren't bad either, 11:30 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was just one building, and I figured it would be quiet and easy. How tough could it be? I could already picture myself in the security office, watching the monitors and walking around a place that felt too large for the silence of the night. I applied right away and got a call the following day. It was the manager, Mr. Hensley, asking if I could come in for an interview that afternoon. It seemed sudden, but I didn't question it. I needed the job, and the mall was close to where I lived. I drove over, trying to shake the feeling that everything was moving too fast. Was the mall that desperate for a night guard? The interview was brief, almost rushed. Hensley asked about my experience, but it didn't feel like he was paying much attention. He quickly went over the basics, checked the cameras every 15 to 30 minutes, do hourly patrols, nothing unusual. At the end, he looked at me and asked, "Can you start tonight?" I was surprised. Most places want time for paperwork or background checks, but I wasn't going to argue. "Sure," I replied, trying not to sound too eager. He looked relieved. "Great, we're short-staffed," he said, rubbing his temples as though the day had been too long. "The last few guards didn't last. I hope you'll be different." His words made me pause. What did he mean by that? But before I could ask, he handed me a key to the office and told me to report at 11 p.m. sharp. The sooner I started, the sooner I would get paid. I told myself, "It's fine," shook his hand, and left the office to go home and get a few hours of sleep before my shift. When I arrived at the mall, it was dark and empty. The parking lot, which during the day was filled with cars, was nearly deserted. A few scattered vehicles sat under the dim lights, but the space felt too vast, too silent. It made the building look like a sleeping giant, and for a moment, I thought about turning around and going home. Something didn't feel right. I dismissed it as first-day jitters and walked to the employee entrance. Mr. Hensley met me at the door, led me through the winding hallways to the security office, and went over the basic protocols again as we walked. The office itself was small, a cramped room at the back of the mall, filled with grainy camera footage from all over the building. "Check the cameras every 15 to 30 minutes, he reminded me. "Do your rounds. Make sure nothing's out of place." The usual. He looked at me before adding, "Keep an eye on the escalators in the play area. Things happen there sometimes." That last part made me pause. "Things happen?" I asked. He waved a hand dismissively. "Kids, mostly, sneaking in or messing around after hours. You'll see." I nodded, though his tone sent a chill down my spine. He handed me a printed sheet of standard instructions, shook my hand again, and said, "Good luck. I'll see you in the morning." Once he left, I was alone. The silence of the empty mall settled over me like a heavy blanket. I took a seat in front of the monitors, flipping through the camera feeds. The escalators were still, the stores dark and vacant. For a moment, I relaxed. It was just a mall. Nothing creepy about that. Just a large, empty building. After a few minutes, I felt a presence behind me. I jumped, my heart racing. There, standing beside me, was a janitor, grinning, clearly amused by my reaction. "Didn't mean to scare you, buddy," he said, his voice light. "You must be the new guy." I let out a nervous laugh, trying to shake off the tension. "Yeah, that's me. I didn't know there was a janitor here at night." He shrugged. "They always keep one of us around to clean up, make sure everything's ready for the next day." His tone grew more serious. "Just make sure you follow the rules." I blinked. "The rules?" He handed me a crumpled piece of paper, his gaze serious, almost unsettling. "These aren't from the manager. These are the rules you'll need if you want to make it through the night." I unfolded the paper, half expecting it to be a joke, but the list of rules inside was anything but funny. Check the security cameras every 15 to 30 minutes, but don't stare at the footage for too long. Never look directly at the mannequins after midnight. If they change position, leave the area immediately. I stared at the list, my stomach tightening with discomfort. You're serious? The janitor's grin faded. I'm warning you. Follow the rules or you'll end up like the last guy. I tried to laugh it off. You mean the last guard? He nodded, his eyes cold. He quit after one night. I stuffed the paper into my pocket, not bothering to read the rest of the list. Well, I'm going to do my first round, I said, chuckling nervously. The janitor stepped aside, giving me a long look before muttering, "Take care." I left the office, but his words lingered in my mind. Something about his tone, his look, felt wrong, like he was genuinely scared. But I wasn't going to let a creepy list of rules get to me. It was just past midnight when I started my patrol. The mall felt eerily quiet at night, much more than I had expected. The dim lighting cast long, twisting shadows along the tiled floors. Every sound felt amplified. My footsteps echoed off the walls, the hum of the fluorescent lights, the creaks and groans of the building settling. As I walked down one of the main hallways, I focused on the task at hand. The mall wasn't huge, but it was big enough to require regular patrols. Plenty of stores to check, some abandoned, some locked up with displays peeking out from the darkness behind their glass fronts. The children's play area near the food court stood silent and still, the colorful plastic toys looking strange and lifeless under the emergency lights. Further down, I spotted the escalators, still and frozen in their usual ascent. I was getting used to the silence when I noticed something odd in one of the clothing stores. The store door was wide open. I stopped, shining my flashlight over the dark interior. At first, I couldn't see anything out of place, but as I moved the beam around, I noticed something shift at the edge of my vision. It looked like something, or someone, was hiding in the dark. I turned to look directly at it, but there was nothing. Just a few mannequins standing near the back, motionless as always. I sighed, shaking my head. It was nothing, just my nerves. I wasn't going to let that creepy list mess with my mind. Then I heard it, the faint rustling of clothing. My flashlight flicked back to the mannequins, and there it was. One of them had definitely moved. It was standing a little closer now, slightly out of position compared to the others. My heartbeat quickened. "Hey, Mr. Janitor," I called out, more out of frustration than anything else. This had to be a prank. He was probably watching me from the shadows, trying to freak me out. But there was no response, just the soft, unsettling shuffle of fabric behind me. Again, I turned slowly, my flashlight scanning the mannequins. That's when I saw it. One of them had changed position again, its head now facing directly toward the exit. My breath hitched. No one else was here. There was no way this could be a trick. I backed out of the store quickly, not wanting to stay any longer than necessary. As I walked away, I kept glancing over my shoulder, and then I heard it. Footsteps. But not normal footsteps. They were heavy, rough, like wood or plastic scraping against the floor. My heart started pounding. I turned around, and there it was, the same mannequin from the store. It stood in the middle of the hallway, staring at me with its blank, lifeless face. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I could feel the blood drain from my face as I watched it slowly stiffen. It started to move toward me, its joints creaking and groaning with every step. Its movements were robotic, stiff, like a doll being dragged forward. I did what any sane person would do. I ran. I turned and bolted down the hallway, my footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness of the mall. I didn't care how ridiculous I looked. I just needed to get away from that thing.